today we approved the second reading for the ordinance that ultimately approves the zoning request. And then in a separate action we waived the third reading. So with the Board of Supervisors action, at this point we are done. If there are any further issues brought forth, that would be through the Board of Adjustment.
Okay. And so can you talk a little bit about the next step of the Board of Adjustment? Could they make any changes to the rezoning or add additional restrictions?
The Board of Adjustment could choose to add restrictions. They cannot take back anything that we have already placed there. And again, this is separate entirely from the Board of Supervisors, so that will be on their schedule and their agenda.
And looking that it would go to them sometime when?
Soon is the question, and at this point I don't know if they will take that up in September, but I'm sure by September or October they would deal with that.
Well, I was disappointed. I understood that there would probably be no change made from the last public hearing. I did come early and had an appointment to speak to them prior to the 11 o'clock reading, and suggested review of several things that were in the document that Pattison Sand Company gave to the county on August 12th, where they did agree to several more items in their document that were not ever included in the supervisor's final amendment for the zoning approval.
Of course, we did add 5 different restrictions, and we felt comfortable with those restrictions. They seemed reasonable and that they could be dealt with and managed appropriately. There were several more restrictions that had been suggested by the study committee, the study group, but we felt that most of those issues were dealt with already by state and or federal regulations.
A couple of them, let's see. One regarding monitoring for the restriction number 2 of the vent shafts. They did have some language that they were agreeing to do some monitoring. There was one regarding blasting time, about notification, and if there was a concern from a neighbor that they would place a seismograph at the location to determine if there was a problem, and if there was, they would correct the problem.
So these are voluntary things that Pattison is agreeing to do?
They were in the document, this GZA document that was turned into the county. There were quite a few stipulations in their rationale for the either deletion or revision of wording of those 17 restrictions, where they did agree to do a number of things, but the supervisors did not consider that. Also, the vent shafts are very concerning to us. The distance setback, it was agreed to be 500 feet, what Pattison recommended. Our Professor O'Shaughnessy from the University of Iowa had recommended a 1/4 mile as a safe distance, and we proposed a compromise for the 500 feet from property lines, like Pattison Sand Company recommended, but to increase it to the 1/4 mile for dwellings, and that was not approved by either Pattison or the county. So we're very disappointed in that. We have concerns about how close those could be. And in addition, in the 2010 rezoning, there are no restrictions about vent shaft setback distances in those. So our property on the north is bordered by a neighbor whose property was rezoned in 2010. The way it reads, with no restrictions, a vent shaft could be on our property line. So we are very concerned about that.